Welcome back, Sebastian here. So this year, 2025, kind of marks the quarter century of F1 in this century, this millennium as well. And as a result, I want to do, a number of these kind of longer form videos, doing kind of longer stats analysis, looking at drivers over the first, these past 25 years, and ranking drivers both good and bad. So today we're going to be looking at the results of my expected points model, which I've now calculated all the way up to the year 2000. So 2000 all the way up to the last race, the Canadian Grand Prix of 2025, of course. And so today we're going to be looking at the bottom 20 drivers, the drivers who have basically scored, dropped the most points compared to what was expected of them based on the car they were driving and based on their starting position on the grid. And then I think next week we're going to take a look at the top 20 for this list. I think both lists have a lot of very, very well-established drivers who've been around for a long time, and we're doing the ranking based on just raw number. We're not going to do percentage because otherwise the percentages, especially those at the top and the bottom, would be very odd. So I felt just doing raw numbers was the simplest way to do this. So starting off with number 20, and again 20 from the bottom is, let's see if we can get this going. Number 20 from the bottom is Pedro Diniz. Only has done one season in the time frame we're looking at, and over that period, in that one season I should say, negative 19.6 points compared to expected, which comes out to a 52%. Of course, only did the one season, so had none of his seasons were above 100%. Best season, worst season, again, both of them are 2000 because that was the one season he did over the time frame that we're looking at. A driver who did most of his time in the 1990s, only did, again, the one season, like I said. Not a very good season, comprehensively beaten by his teammate Mika Salo of Sauber that year, and of course he was out of F1 at the end of the year. Now, number 19, Takuma Sato, has done 5 seasons, points above expected over that time, negative 23.7, which comes out at an 86%. I'm not counting the first 4 races of 2008. Again, it's too small of a sample size. However, of those 5 seasons, 3 of his 5 seasons were above 100%. So again, not too bad there. Best season, 2007, plus 8.3. So 8.3 points compared to expected, which comes out to 321%. Worst season, 2005, negative 29.8%. Negative 29.8, which comes in at 19%. Sato had a couple pretty bad seasons there, 2004, 2005 at BAR, partnering Jenson Button, and that really drags down his total, because otherwise his totals for 2003, 6, and 7 were honestly not that bad. It's just a couple of those seasons where he was in the best cars of his career were really bad, and that just really drags down the average. Of course, something I need to mention as well is that I've converted all the points to the 25-point system with no fastest lap and no sprint points as well. So everything is just the exact same point system across the board. So I know, for those early seasons, 2000, 2001, the winner got points the winner got 10 points. The winner points only went down to 6. Eventually they changed it to 8 and then eventually 10 in 2010. But yeah, points have been standardized, so you don't need to worry about, differences between point systems across seasons. Number 18, another Japanese driver, Kazuki Nakajima. Only 2 seasons in F1, points above expected of a negative 24.9, which comes out to a 57% for his career. One of those 2 seasons was above 100% though, so a bit of a surprise there, and that was his first season in 2008. Usually with rookies it's the other way around. Usually the first season will be quite bad and then you'll see improvement the second season, but at least for this one model, for Nakajima, it was the other way around. So 2008 plus 6.9, which comes out to 133%, and his worst season was 2009 with a negative 31.7, which is 14%. Of course, that pretty poor season saw him dropped from F1 at the end of the year. Moving up to number 17, and that is Vitaly Petrov. 3 seasons in F1, negative 25.2 is his total for his career, which comes out to 72%. None of his 3 seasons above 100%, not even 2011. Again, 2011 was pretty close, but not quite there. Best season, again, when you go by the just raw number, was actually 2012 when he was driving the worst of his 3 cars with a negative 0.17. Again, the car was really bad, so it makes sense he wasn't expected to score much. And for his worst season was, of course, his rookie season, 2010, partnering Robert Kubica, a negative 21.7, which comes out at 55% for Petrov. Now, moving on to number 16, and that is Heikki Kovalainen. Kovalainen is the first of quite a few drivers on this list. When we get towards the end of this video, you'll definitely start to see a trend. I won't say exactly what the trend is now, but again, if you watch to the end, you'll pick it up pretty quickly. So for Kovalainen, 6 points, points above expected, negative 31.5, which comes out to 90% across his career. He did have 1 season above 100%, and that was his, again, funnily enough, just like Nakajima, that was his rookie season of 2007. 11.5 points above expected comes out at 115%. Worst season, the very next season, 2008, a negative 30.3, which comes out at 82%. Number 15, Marcus Ericsson, 5 seasons in Formula One, points above expected for his entire career, negative 32.3, which comes out at 36%, which I think is one of the lowest numbers on this in this video today. So which I think shows just kind of how bad that number is for that negative 32 is for Ericsson if the percentage is, basically 1/3. Of course, no seasons above 100%. Best season, again, a bit like Petrov, it's the one where he was in the worst car, negative 0.060% in 2014 driving the Caterham. Worst season was actually his last driving for, again, Alfa Romeo Sauber in 2018, a negative 18.3, which comes out at 33%. Number 14, a bit of an interesting name on this list, and that is Ralf Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher, I think, rated fairly highly, but unfortunately, a couple bad seasons there in the early 2000s where he just didn't score the points that he was expected to in the races, and again, that kind of really tanks his overall total. So 8 seasons, 2000 to 2007. I know he drove in the 90s a bit, but again, not included in this video. Points above expected for his entire career, negative 35.8. But again, when you look at that percentage, 96%, so to be honest, not too bad, not too shabby there. 3 seasons above 100%. So again, he did have a couple good seasons in there, including 2005, which was his best season, just based on the raw numbers, plus 16.2, which comes out at 115%. Worst season, however, was a couple years prior to that, 2003, a negative 40.5, and that was, of course, driving for Williams BMW, 78% there. Number 13, a driver who is driving in F1 quite recently, as recently as last year, and that is Kevin Magnussen. 9 seasons in Formula One, a career total of negative 38.2, 84%, to be honest, not too bad there. But interestingly enough, he actually has 5 seasons above 100%, which means that there's 5 seasons where he scored more than he was expected to. But despite that, his overall numbers are below 100%, and that's because his worst season was in the best car that he drove over his whole career. So again, like what I mentioned before with Sato, really pulls down that overall average. So best season 2022 plus 8.5, 168%. His big comeback after Mazepin got dropped during preseason testing. Worst season, like I alluded to, 2014, driving for McLaren, a negative 50.7, which comes out to about 52%. So yeah, again, one of the weaker rookie seasons on the list, I would say, just in terms of point scoring. Now, number 12, this is a driver who actually moved up 1 spot compared to when I basically did the calculations before the Grand Prix last weekend, and that is Lance Stroll. So 9 seasons, Formula One for Stroll, points above expected, negative 38.2, which comes out at 89% for his career. To be honest, I think that sounds about right for Stroll. Stroll's a pretty bad qualifier. And if when I do the qualifying rating, kind of just analysis for for this entire time period. Expect Stroll to show up on the worst list, or at least, pretty close to the bottom there. But anyway, for Stroll, we know that generally in terms of his overall kind of ability as a driver, we know qualifying is a big weakness, and because the stats looking at the races, again, it's not quite as bad as some other drivers. He does have 3 seasons above 100%. Interestingly enough, 2 of those were his first 2 seasons in the sport, and then the last one is actually this year, and that is officially, as of recording of this video, his best season to date. But again, that could definitely change by towards the end of the season. So positive 7.3 for this year, and that comes out at 376%. Worst season 2023, negative 17.3, which comes out at 80% for Stroll. Now, taking a look at number 11, another driver who could be in quite a different position at the end of the season, and that is Yuki Tsunoda. So 5 seasons so far, career total of negative 49.0. And unfortunately, this is one where, if Tsunoda continues to struggle in the Red Bull as the season goes along, he could definitely find himself, ranked 10th or 9th or maybe even 8th by the end of the season. So that negative 49 converted to a percentage, 65%. He does have 1 season above 100%, and that is 2023, where he scored 1.5 points more than was expected, and converted to a percentage that's 113%. Worst season is the one that's going on right now, 2025, negative 37.4 or 10%. And that's like one of the worst totals for a driver in a front running team, I think, in this entire data set. So again, hopefully Tsunoda can turn things around, but otherwise, it's not looking so good for him. Now, number 10, another driver who's part of the Red Bull program, Daniil Kvyat, 6 seasons in Formula One, negative 55.1 points below expected, and based on when you convert that to a percentage, 79%. No seasons above 100%, a bit of a surprise there, but his best season was 2019, where he came very, very close. Negative 0.6 points below expected, and that converted to a percentage is 98 points. Worst season, his last one, Formula One 2020, negative 14.2 or 70%. Now, moving on, I think a driver that many would have expected to be on this list just based on reputation alone. Drivers, pretty good qualifier, reputation for, being quite crashy in the races, and, having quite a few mistakes, gaffes here and there, is, of course, Romain Grosjean. 10 seasons in Formula One, points above expected over that entire time, negative 57.8 or 87%. He did have 5 seasons above 100%, so he definitely had some pretty good seasons, especially at Haas. His best season, 2016, plus 14 or 194%. Worst season, 2013. To be honest, I was a bit surprised it wasn't 2012, but 2013 was pretty close, and that's a negative 33.9 or 80%. Now, a driver who I think many would be surprised to see on this list is actually Oscar Piastri, your current championship leader in F1. Of course, this is his 3rd season in F1. His career points above expected is negative 60.2. But when you look at the percentage, 92%, pretty good. And of course, for Piastri, he's been in close to front running machinery for about, I would say a year and a bit, close to a year and a half, I would say, of that career. So he's been in very, very strong machinery. And again, when you're in faster cars and you perform a little bit worse than expected, the raw numbers generally tend to be a little bit worse, but the percentages generally tend to be a little better. No seasons as of yet above 100%. This season, to be honest, right before the Canadian Grand Prix, he was just above 100%, but unfortunately went below after this weekend's results. So for this year, negative 1.3, 99%. So again, very close to performing exactly as you would expect. And worst season, not a surprise, his rookie season 2023, negative 32.1 or 72%. As we are still very early in Piastri's career, I would not be entirely surprised if I did this video in 3 or 4 years. Piastri would probably be a lot lower on this list, if he's even on this list at all. Now, number 7, Giancarlo Fisichella, 10 seasons in F1 in this time frame, negative 63.7 or 92%. He did have 6 seasons above 100% though. So again, one of those odd ones where in some cars performed very, very well and others didn't perform so well. So when he was at Renault, 2005, 2006, unfortunately performed pretty poorly, but outside of those 2 years, honestly performed very, very well. Best season 2003. That was, of course, the year he won the Brazilian Grand Prix driving for a pretty slow Jordan. So again, that massively increased his total compared to what you would expect, or his points total. So 22 plus 22.7 or 319%. Worst season, not a surprise, 2005, negative 69.9. Now, number 6 is a driver where if you had to create a stat, I think anyone who drove, or not necessarily drove it, anyone who watched F1 in the 2000s, and you create a stat where it basically you eliminated qualifying performance and you just looked at the race results, which is basically what the stat is, you would probably know that Jarno Trulli would not do very well on any kind of stat like that. 12 seasons in F1 in this time frame, negative 125.3 points or 85%, and he only had 2 seasons above 100% in that entire 12-year stretch. Best season 2004, of course, the year he won the Monaco Grand Prix, plus 10.4 or 110%. Worst season, to be honest, it's not too bad. It's 2023, negative 32.5 or 73%. So now we move into the top 5, and to be honest, almost all of these drivers, if you haven't figured out what the trend is yet, almost all of these drivers are drivers who basically spent a lot of time as number 2 drivers in top teams, teams that won championships. I think when I did the math in my head, I think the 5 drivers on this list have been on, 18 or so, 18 or 19 of the Constructors' Championship winning cars from 2000 to 2024. So a lot of drivers who've basically been very important contributors to Constructors' Championships. But again, when you look at the strength of the car, look at what they did, again, there was definitely quite a lot of room for improvement in there. And because most of these drivers did their job, they generally kept their seats for quite a few years. And again, those points totals kind of accumulated over time. So, number 5 is Rubens Barrichello, 12 seasons, negative 163.7 points, or negative or 70%. Only 2 seasons above 100%, which is a bit of a surprise. I thought a couple more seasons there with Honda, he would have been above 100, but unfortunately not to be. And his best season, 2008, plus 21.2, 374%. Again, that was the season I was really helped by his shock podium at the British Grand Prix that year in the wet conditions. Worst season, 2004, not entirely a big surprise there. I honestly thought it was going to be like 2001, 2002, but yeah, 2004, negative 38.1 or 88%. Compared to some of the other totals we're going to see for worst seasons on this chart, to be honest, Barrichello's worst seasons at Ferrari are honestly very, very good compared to what we're going to see with some of the drivers ahead of him on this list. So, number 4, Mark Webber, 12 seasons, negative 211.7 points, 87% over his F1 career. 4 seasons out of the 12 above expected, which again does seem a little low, given that he only really spent 5 seasons in front-running machinery, again, as kind of a number 2 driver. But he did have quite a few years where he was quite unlucky. Best season 2006, plus 4.6 or 124%. Worst season, his last in F1, 2013, negative 50 or 80%. Now, number 3, Valtteri Bottas, 12 seasons F1. Maybe he'll come back, make a comeback next year, 2026. Again, not yet decided. But out of those 12 seasons, points above expected, negative 219.4 or 89%. But he does have 4 seasons above 100%, including his best season, 2022, plus 16.0 or 152%. Worst season, 2021, oddly enough, I thought it was going to be 2018, but 2021 was also not great. Some of that was definitely not his fault. He had, I think, quite a bit of bad luck. He did have some pretty bad engine penalties towards the end of the year, but again, in theory, that's something that the model should have taken care of. But yeah, for 2021, negative 63.3 or 77%. Number 2, Sergio Perez, 14 seasons in F1. Again, like Bottas, maybe he'll come back next year. And over those 14 seasons, negative 292.6 or 84%. If I had done this video before Perez went to Red Bull, he would definitely not be on this list and almost certainly would have been on the top 20 list for in the positive direction. Unfortunately, those 4 years at Red Bull really tanked his career totals. Again, best car that those 4 Red Bull cars are the best 4 cars he's ever driven. So again, those points totals, points deficits are going to really weigh down his career totals. Best season 2012. Interesting, it's not 2020, but 20 plus 23.8 or 156%. Worst season 2023, negative 115% or 69%. So now we're getting to the driver at number 1. Anyone in the audience want to guess who it is? You might probably already know just by process of elimination of who else might be on this list, but it is none other than Felipe Massa. So 15 seasons in F1, a career total of negative 417.7, which is just checking here. That's about 120 points worse than Sergio Perez. So again, a pretty big gulf, a pretty big chasm there between the drivers ranked number 1 and number 2. Again, when you convert to a percentage, 80%. So again, not great. That 80% is worse than Perez, worse than Bottas, worse than Weber, and worse than Rubens Barrichello. So even when you convert to a percentage, it's still worse of those kind of group of number 2 drivers on this list. Only 2 seasons above 100%. I believe one of those is 2005, which again was his best season. The other one was 2009, which of course was unfortunately cut short by his injury at the 2009 Hungarian Grand Prix. But best season of 2005 in a Sauber, a plus 12.7 or 146%. Worst season, not a big surprise to anyone who watched F1 at the time, 2012, with a negative 100.6 or 55%, which again, in a front-running machinery is quite awful. And that's kind of the low benchmark for front-running machinery over the last 25 years is like 50 to 55%. So again, for Tsunoda, looking at you, you better hope that you can get your total above that number by the end of the season. But again, not looking so good at the moment. So there you go. That is the bottom 20 drivers for the expected points model for the last 25 years, this past quarter century. And again, next week, I'm going to be doing a look at the top 20 drivers. So again, we're going to see quite a few big names on that list. In fact, probably all the big names over the last 25 years will be on that list, or should be on that list, I should say. But again, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Any of these 20 drivers you think maybe got the short end of the stick, a bit unfortunate to be ranked in the bottom 20. Any others that you think maybe perhaps deserve to be any lower, or perhaps are there any drivers who weren't on this list who you think maybe should have been on this list. Of course, the calculation method was very objective. It's not my opinion, not my feelings. The formula I used, the model I use, I made sure I calculated exactly the same, very fairly. But again, the results are the results. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.